Hey everyone, it's Jonathan. Welcome to our final day at the Julien Dubuque International Film Festival. Nicki and I had so much fun touring Dubuque and watching movies, so we're thinking about making this an annual thing. If you're interested, stay tuned next week. I will probably release an extended podcast covering the whole week's worth of reviews, but for now, here's our final day in Dubuque and everything we watched before I headed for home. Our last day.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's gone so fast.
Yes, very fast.
Oof. But I think we ended on a pretty solid thing.
Yeah, today was a good day.
It was. First thing we watched was called Heart of Stone.
Yes. And I liked this one until the end.
Yeah. So basic story was there's a woman who does the living statue thing, does it very well.
Yeah, when she first showed up on screen, I was looking at her like, okay, I know this is about a statue. Is this like one of those people who does a living statue, or is it supposed to be a literal living statue?
It was both?
It was. And the woman at the beginning was the person playing a living statue, like somebody who poses in the park with tourists. But she did it very well.
She did. And she also was a person living as a statue. She was very to herself, not really taking part in the world, more watching it passerby when she wasn't dressed as a statue. So, but there is a lovely statue in the park that she constantly sketches and interacts with, and I guess sort of falls in love with.
I think so.
So then the statue is removed they were changing out some of the exhibitions, and she gets very upset at this, and she kisses the statue, and then statue comes to life, and they dance and have an extended moment, and then at the very end, they become a statue together.
Yeah. Which I liked everything that they were doing, like talking and then the dance. Like everything was really well done.
It was lovely. And
very
pretty.
Well shot too.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing looked really good. And I really liked when the statue came to life, the sound design, the scraping of stone, and then I think it was probably like CGI dust trickling off the statue as she like started to move.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. So.
It was really well done. It was really cool.
Yeah. Well, and even saw her fingers, like there was a split second, probably a jump cut between the statue's fingers and her fingers kind of breaking loose from it. But the effects were very well done. And it was, I think it had funding from the Belgian government. There were several funders of it, I would say on an European Union level. So. Yeah.
And it was very well done. It looked great. It felt like a feature. But I didn't love the end. I think I would have preferred it to have been a dream. Because, I don't really know what they were going for with having them, fuse together and become a statue together.
My assumption is earlier in the short, the live woman asks the statue, what is it like to be... How do you see the world? And basically the statue says, there are moments where we see people that pass us by, but by and large, we're in the moment that we're created. So she was made to be kind of a lonely girl waiting for her lover, and them fusing together was a moment of love between the two of them. So that was kind of going to be their eternal moment, was this moment of exhilaration in that kiss. So that's my assumption.
That makes sense.
That was my takeaway from it. I could be wrong, but...
That's probably correct. I think I would have preferred it if the living woman had stayed living instead of becoming a statue.
Yeah, interacting with the world instead of retreating from it. But like any story of this nature, it does something very abstract, and that's kind of where it starts and stops, I guess. So the next one up was called Watching Walter. It was a based on true story, or based on true events, I guess. Yeah,
it was about a Holocaust survivor who became a watchmaker. Because while he was in the concentration camp, he was forced to help this guy repair watches for the Nazis. And this was a real thing that happened. This was a real person. So this is based on his life. And it was very well done. I liked this one, but it was heavier. I don't tend to love the heavy ones, so this wasn't like a favorite, but it was a very well done short. I recognized the main guy, but I don't remember why I recognized him. He must have been in something else I've seen.
Oh, I'm
the
sure
older
so.
Guy.
Yeah, I'm sure so. It did take place in, I think, the director was there to do Q&As, and he did mention that it was based out of Philadelphia, but it could have really been done anywhere on like Philadelphia or New York or something like that. One other thing to note is that this won Best Short of the whole fest. So, I mean, that goes to show that people vibed with it, certainly, even on that level. It was a very emotional story. I mean, there are endless stories of Holocaust survivors and the guilt that goes along with it, and this embodied that really well, I thought. But yeah, it was a very well done story, and it was, again, a small story. It takes place in an actual clock shop. Yeah, everything felt very true to life, and there was shots you never, obviously it wasn't set in a concentration camp, but the setup, the way that it was laid out worked incredibly well. So kudos to their location scouts.
Yeah, they did a really good job.
They did.
And it sounds like they have plans to go further than the short with it, because he said since this is an actual person that he knew, he has his whole life that he wants to bring to a movie.
Yeah. This was, I guess what you would call, I think they called it just a proof of concept more than anything else. So that's kind of where any of this stuff starts. He sounds like he's got the script either mostly written or on the way. So
yeah,
if they can make this work, they'll go from there.
Yep.
So the next one up was called The First Sequel. It was probably one of two incredibly short ones.
Yeah.
But this one was my favorite of the block. It was so funny.
It was well done, yes.
Yeah. Basically, a bunch of Neanderthals are sitting around telling stories. Their master storyteller gets done telling this very epic tale, and then people start to disband, and he says, but wait, there's more! And he goes on to try and, like, give this massive continuation of the story that was ended, and people start to question, why is this needed? What about, motivations? And he goes on to say, well, how am I going to support myself if I'm adding more to the story? And there's a commercial break with mud bricks. It's super short. It's about 6 minutes long, but it is just super cute. And it was all motion capture. So.
Yeah. From the credits, at least, it had a very small crew.
Yes.
So with such a small crew, they did a great job.
They did. I think there was only 2 voice people, too, so...
I think there were like 4 characters that talked, but I don't know if they were all the same person or not.
I think, well, the way that they did the credits, they showed the guy's face doing the motion capture, and then they had 4 different actors.
Maybe, yeah.
I could be wrong, though. There might have been more. They did all sound sort of the same, but not 100%.
They could have been. I don't know, but yeah, that would make sense if it's motion capture, so you don't need a lot of people, even though there were technically a ton of characters, because you had all the people around in the cave, and there was like an upper level of the cave too.
And then you had the guy selling the mud bricks, which was the most fascinating character. But no, it was just a fun light short, and especially when you have a block that includes a Holocaust story.
Yeah.
Up next was one called Carmen. It was in Spanish, but it was essentially Carmen and the Magic Spoon. Carmen and the Wooden Spoon.
Magic Spoon works too. It was a magic spoon.
It was it was a magic spoon. I think the actual name, as it translated, was Carmen and the Wooden Spoon, according to the website. But either way, man, this one, I didn't cry at a lot of stuff, but man, this one hit me hard. It was animated. It was John described it as like a PBS kids show with extra budget.
Yeah, that's what it felt like to me. Like that type of simple character design, but there was some more shading and yeah. It felt like a lower budget animation, but higher than regular low budget animation.
Yeah. And that was just in the animation type. The story they told was quite a lot deeper.
Yeah.
Definitely not a kid's. Well, I suppose it could be a kid's story.
It could be.
Yeah, but it definitely hit on some relatively deep subjects. Basically, you had a grandma and a granddaughter who explored the world through cooking and this quote magic spoon that took the granddaughter on adventures.
Through her grandma's memories.
Yes, and her book of, she had a picture book with recipes and all of her experiences and such. The mom is a catering person, or like a caterer, is always quite busy and is unable to spend time with her daughter. And the grandma gets either dementia or Alzheimer's or something along those lines. She begins to lose her memory, and the mom and the daughter start to try and bring the grandma back to these memories and make her happy.
Through cooking.
Through cooking, yes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, generally speaking, that's kind of a universal thing.
And I've heard that can work, not permanently, but like it can help bring back memories, and people can become more of their old self through something specific that they cooked in the past.
Absolutely. And it was really well done. Like,
yeah, it was.
The story was well told. It didn't screw around time-wise. Like, it told the story it needed to tell, it hit you where you live, and then it moved on.
Mm-hmm.
And then it flew off on a giant wooden spoon. But if you can, personally, I would say if you can seek this one. Of these, the others are good, but of these, this is the one that, like, if you need an emotional hit, this one is really good for that.
Yeah.
Let's see, next one up, there was the Ukrainian dance movie.
I think this might have been my favorite, but only because, like, the story was kind of simple. The acting wasn't perfect, but I love watching, like, dances from around the world, and I love musical fusion. And this was, like, a fusion of, like, traditional Ukrainian dance with, like, 80s music.
Oh, yeah. It was really fun.
Like, the last section of the movie was like, this is perfect for me. I love this.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. It was bright, and it deals with some heavy stuff because it is taking place in modern day. There's mention of, so it's a father that owns like or who takes part in a Ukrainian culture center. His daughter danced in Ukraine, but she had to come back because of the war. And he plans to go back to help rebuild. And basically they're saying that we win the war by being able to spread our culture and spread what we do in multiple different ways.
Yeah.
And the end is this gloriously awesome traditional Ukrainian dance. And it's fantastic.
Yeah. It was really fun.
Yeah, bright and colorful, and just, it's a celebration. It really, truly is. Let's see. Another one that we hit was Clean Plate, which I'm not sure how I feel like. It was funny. It was super cute. And I can see what they were going for, but I don't know that it was...
At first, it didn't feel like it was supposed to be sort of a fantasy. Like, it felt grounded until it didn't.
Yeah.
And then it felt weird. I don't know. I liked aspects of this, but it was not my favorite.
Yeah, it had moments of fun, like, but there was something that might have been missed. And not to say, it was well shot. It had, like, everybody did a great job. The essential stories, you've got this Michelin star chef who never has a dish come back that has anything on it. Everybody finishes their plates. He sends out this gorgeous-looking fish, and the waiter comes back with it. He remakes it, it goes out, and comes back almost immediately. And he goes out to check on the customer to see what he can do to make their meal better. And it's a mob boss along with his enforcer. And then you find out the dish is actually for his dog.
And the dog won't touch it.
Right, but it's
which
also...
is the most unbelievable part to me.
Right, but it's also fish. It's like if you know what your dog likes...
That's true, but like any dog I've known would eat literally anything.
That is a good point. If your dog is willing to eat grass and or anything else put in front of them, yeah, no, that would make sense. The story was cute. The dog was cute. There was just some...
It took a weird turn towards the end because he said if you don't make the thing something my dog will eat, then somebody's going to lose their head. And then they were acting like they were going to chop off the waiter's head.
Yeah.
Which was just weird.
Yeah. So he ends up making a steak, puts it in front of the dog. The dog's not touching the steak, but then he puts a steak on the floor, and the dog goes to town and, like, finishes his plate. Which ultimately is, good because, if you don't eat your meal, then you're not going to get any dessert. Which could have very well been the waiter's head. The last one was Tango in Room 1310. Story was pretty simple again, but, with any short, the simpler story is normally better. A gent walks into a hotel room, gets all gussied up, and he goes out with a ring and a bunch of flowers to propose to his girlfriend. She never shows up and finally calls to say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. And then he goes back to his hotel room. Sad eats a giant thing of ice cream, which it's good to see that gentleman deal with the need for ice cream when they're sad as well. But then he sits down in front of the TV and a tango comes up on screen, and that apparently helps him to feel better.
Well, I think he was the male dancer in the tango. I wasn't sure if the girl was supposed to be his girlfriend.
I think so. It starts off, so it's on TV. It is initially a different couple, but then it turns into him and
Okay.
I assume his girlfriend. We never see her, so it's kind of assumed.
Yeah.
And then the very end of it, there's a knocking at the door quite early in the morning, and the way the knocking goes kind of matches with a tango music.
It was fine. Like, it was well shot. It was a simple story. Like, I wouldn't say it was my favorite, but it wasn't bad.
No.
It was good for what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. It had some fun bits. Like, it was cute. Anyone going through a breakup, especially that level of breakup, could probably, relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose a tango is a style of dance that kind of goes along with sadness, or like, it's an emotional style of music or dance. So that might have been why it was a tango, but I'm not sure.
I feel like the more interesting thing was the fact that the director main actor was there afterwards talking about the film. It was made in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, like a day and a half.
Yeah, and he was talking about like getting through the weather because like they got rain in the short, but that was incorporated into it really well.
It was very well done, and it was coming down like cats and dogs. So
yeah, so the short looked good.
Yeah.
But again, a very simple story. There wouldn't be something you could turn into a feature out of this. It was just he wanted to make a short film in a small space and just tell an interesting, very short story.
Oh yeah, well, and that it comes with its own set of challenges, but those challenges can be turned into creative results as well. And they did some great stuff, like the way that they incorporated the different channels, kind of talking about, you flip through the channels and everything relates back to your state of mind. That's a classic trope, but it always works well, and it was well done here.
Also, the fact that he didn't talk at all in the short. That was a choice on his part. And I noticed it, but he made sure to mention at the end. He did that on purpose. He wanted to tell a story without saying anything.
Absolutely. And it was well done, and he did a great job of conveying emotions, and it was good.
Yeah.
So a fitting ending, I think, for the block.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's kind of the full block. To follow up on the predictions that I made about winners, I wasn't right at all.
It was stuff we never saw.
Yeah.
Other than watching Walter, and I think one other thing got something. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah. I don't remember offhandedly either, but yeah, and I'm looking at the descriptions for the things that won. I had heard a couple people offhandedly speaking, and they said, "Oh yeah, great," but you can say that about any short. It is such a subjective thing, and congratulations to the winners, though. Well put together pieces across the board. Like, I don't think we saw anything that wasn't well put together.
No, yeah, everything was really well done. And like, I should have thought that maybe things that we didn't see would win, because like there were so many movies at this festival, and we only saw a fraction of them.
Oh yeah.
So it makes sense that we didn't see everything that won.
I mean, and the way that they break it down, there are 21 different short blocks, and those short blocks range average from 4 to about 7 items based on how long they are and everything. So, and there was 150 things total. So you're talking at least 80 odd shorts in addition to 40 or 50 odd features. No, sorry, more than that. Like 60 odd features across an entire week of stuff. So, yeah, there'd be no way to hit everything, but I think we got a really good balance.
Yeah, we did.
But overall, how did you enjoy your first film fest?
It was really fun.
Good.
That makes me want to go to more film festivals.
Absolutely. Once they start you down the road, there's no going back.
Yeah, I mean, it's all totally different stuff than I normally watch, but I like watching stuff. Like, I like going into things blind, and that's what film festivals are for usually.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we had a basic idea of what things were going to be about, but like, none of these are big budget Hollywood blockbusters that we're just waiting for them to be released. This is all stuff that we don't really know what we're getting into, and that's the fun of it.
Oh yeah, agreed. Probably the most well-known thing I saw personally, which this would have been before you came into town, it was a documentary called The Porcelain War, which was up for an Oscar in this previous year's Oscars. And I didn't make the connection until afterwards when I was looking through the information on it. And it's like, oh, it was up for an Academy Award for best documentary. Oops. But no, that's probably the most well-known thing that I saw, and that was after the fact. I mean, a good chunk of these movies had some kind of Hollywood influence, whether it be an actor or, director or some someone associated with someone, but with an industry as widespread as the filmmaking industry is, I think you'd be hard-pressed not to have some kind of influence one way or the other. But that's not to say there weren't a lot that were just, this person was like, you know what, I'm going to make a movie. And they did. And it turned out awesome. Because there was so many that were like one or first or second features.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
And-
even though I will say, even the ones that I didn't personally like were still well done. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think we saw anything that we could say was bad.
No.
Just not to my taste.
Right. And that's such a subjective thing.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it was, and so much stuff shot on iPhones.
Yeah,
And
which
maybe
is
it was-
very cool.
Yeah, and maybe it was just the stuff that we ended up in. But there was...
Maybe.
Yeah.
But iPhones, I feel like, are kind of perfect for some of these documentary type things. Because, like, while we were watching Call Me Dancer, before I even knew that it was shot on iPhone, I was wondering how they were following this guy with a film crew.
Yeah.
But it was just this woman. What was it? The person who was there, or was somebody else?
I think there was two people filming, depending on when it was. Like, they had their main person who was not there. He was based out of London, I think.
Oh, that's right.
But then she was also doing quite a lot of filming herself. So
Okay. Either way, they just had somebody in a probably small room, because I was wondering how they were going to fit stuff into this room to film these things. But if they just have an iPhone, that's super easy to film with.
Absolutely so. But yeah, I've been to the film festival for several years, and it keeps getting better every year that I go. So, and
Good.
that's the sign of a good film fest. It has a reputation for being a very good one, and it held up to that reputation this year. There's a lot of time and care that goes in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, if you happen to find yourself in Dubuque, Iowa, on or about the second to last week of April, it's worth a shot to come on over and check it out. Prices aren't terrible, and it's a fun little town, and yeah.
Yeah, we've done so much more than just the
Oh, yeah.
film festival. We tried all sorts of food from all over the world, and
Yeah.
coffee shops, and there's places you can go for sightseeing. We didn't even see a fraction of what you could go to.
No, absolutely. So
But I think I'm going to come back and do some more stuff.
nice. Well, we'll look forward to it. I appreciate you coming, man. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, I did. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome on your podcast. It's been fun having someone to discuss these with. Like, the one thing, and I think a lot of us as YouTubers kind of find this, you have your online people that are kind of your people when it comes to movies.
Mm-hmm.
But locally, it can be difficult to find people that are kind of in that same mindset as you are.
Yeah.
So to be able to have someone to go to this stuff with and kind of bounce stuff off of, like, in the moment,
Yeah.
it's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
we talked about it when it came to Hundreds of Beavers, when I saw that a couple of years ago. I was so blown away by how good it was. But the idea of talking to someone about it and trying to explain all these things and them not going, well, I can appreciate that you're trying to tell me what this is, but I have no idea what you're talking about. Until they're able to see it and go, oh my gosh, this or that. Like, it took a year to be able to get people to that point.
Yeah.
Which I'm grateful it got there, but it was maddening in the meantime.
I can imagine. It's a bizarre film, even if you have seen it. But, like, if you haven't seen it, and to try and explain it to somebody and why it's good.
Exactly.
It's one that you just have to see.
Absolutely. And, there was a lot of good stuff this year, but that level of weird we really haven't encountered, or we didn't encounter this year, but just that whole notion, it was so nice to have someone to be able to, again, just to talk about stuff with. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably all for now, but maybe we'll do this next year, and
Absolutely.
maybe we'll find something as weird as Hundreds of Beavers next year.
We can only hope.
Okay, well, thanks for inviting me. Thanks for doing this with me.
Absolutely.
We'll see you on the next thing.
That's right. Ha ha ha.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow my co-hosts as well. My link tree and all of our links will be in the description below. If you want more of my content, all my podcasts are available on YouTube as well as most podcast platforms. If you enjoyed this show, check out one of the other podcasts or check out my Patreon for bonus and extended episodes you won't find anywhere else. We'll be back soon with another brand new episode, so thanks for listening and we'll see you next time.